Hey folks, NecroVMX here with another round of comic reviews. I meant to do this earlier, but I was waiting on getting copies of Venom Dark Origins and Batman Confidential so I could review them. So here we go. I got to review pretty much everything. Didn't get a copy of Final Crisis Submit. I don't know if that even came out. But here we go. Let's start with Venom Dark Origins number 3. This book shows one major flaw in the series, that there really is no reason to stretch Venom's origin out to 5 issues, and it continues to drive home the point that this latest version of his origin is assy as piss. In this issue, nothing happens. Brock goes contemplating suicide at the church, merges with the symbiote, getting into a dust-up with some cops, and then he figures out who Spider-Man is. This somehow takes up 22 pages, with an entire page being dedicated to the symbiote blocking a bullet. Wow. If you followed my recommendation, you haven't been reading this, but if you are, it's a mystery to me why. Gotta give it a 4 out of 10. Terror Titans number 1 is rather a disappointment, with the morally questionable Ravager joining the Terror Titans, and of course, they're a whole lot worse than she is. I'm not sure what angle she's going in, but she seems she now has powers on par with Clot King, who seems to be running the show, though enough of it ties into Final Crisis to let you know what's really behind it. I found this issue to be a mess, with just a bunch of characters who seem to have no real motivation. Very boring. Gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Deadpool number 3 is another great issue with hilarious exposition, a decent explanation for everything, and a shocker ending. I also should note that the art in this series has been rather good, though I haven't cared much for the cover art so far. The interior art has been quite good. The very thought of Deadpool working with Nick Fury is funny in and of itself, much less the interplay between them. I also like that the writer isn't afraid to use references that not everyone will get, such as when Nick Fury states the information they've been after is how to kill a Skrull Queen, and Wade starts singing Killer Queen. Good stuff. Gonna give it an 8 out of 10. There's not much to say about this stand, Captain Trips number 2, other than the high quality of the first issue was no fluke, and that this series continues to handle the source material well. It still manages to come off as a decent comic book as well, something the Dark Tower books could learn by. A decent substitute for those who don't want to read an 1100-page book, and the art is also quite good. Gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Action Comics number 870 wraps up the Brainiac arc, which had been the best storyline told in Action Comics since Last Sun, and we know how that turned out. This is one of DC's best series when it isn't plagued with delays, and it hasn't been in a while, so it's been really good lately. This is simply one of the best Superman epics I've read, and the ending is nothing short of both shocking and sad as a major character dies. All-Star Superman may be done with, but it looks like Action Comics is ready to take its place as one of DC's best series that also stars one of their best heroes. Full of great art, emotional writing, and an epic plot, I have to give this a 10 out of 10. Batman Confidential number 22 is another early Joker-type story, and so far it seems a lot better than the Joker's origin already told in this series, though it does share crappy artwork with that arc. The art is cartoonish, which isn't bad in and of itself, but it's badly done. The story, however, is quite good, with the Joker coming off as both hilarious and frightening as usual, especially at the end when a young Batman realizes what he's dealing with. Worth a look, a solid 7 out of 10. Detective Comics 849 is another good issue in the Heart of Hush story, though honestly, I think the art took a big dip in this particular issue. Hush's plan, for once, actually seems to be well thought out, though of course we all know it won't come to fruition. There's not much I could say about this plot without spoiling it, but basically Hush does the whole typical villain thing and explains his entire plan, manages to incapacitate Batman. Next chapter is the last one. Hopefully, it'll be worth it. 7 out of 10. Final Crisis Revelations number 3 is nothing if not exciting, with the Spectre and Kane finally going toe-to-toe, though Crispus stupidly tries to fight like a man and not use the vast power at his disposal. The story is fairly interesting and the art is good, but the main reason that this is interesting is the look at the post-anti-life equation world, something we haven't really gotten to see too much in the main Final Crisis series so far. A solid issue that I'll give an 8 out of 10. Green Lantern number 35 wraps up the Secret Origin arc that reboots the origin of Green Lantern, giving us a well-thought-out self-contained arc that shows Hal's origin and introduces characters such as Sinestro, Hector Hammond, and Black Hand, but at the same time leads up to the Blackest Night event that will come out next year. A great issue and one that shows everything right about the book and the character. 9 out of 10. Green Lantern Corps number 29 is also great, with the first part of the Sins of the Star Sapphire arc, as the first violet rings start going out to those capable of feeling great love. We also get to see Mongul again, still wielding several yellow rings, as well as more on the whole Guy and Ice relationship. A solid, exciting, intense issue that you shouldn't miss. Another 9 out of 10. Lastly, we have Trinity number 19, which is a slight improvement, though not by much. It seems some characters in the world where Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman never existed have an inkling that something is wrong and that something is missing. The backup feature also plays this angle, though, from a different perspective. If the series hadn't been so bad up to this point, I probably would find this far more fascinating, but as it stands, it's rather much of a chore to read this book. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. And that's it. See you next week with more comic reviews.